Yes, I think the US has been problematic for a long time, especially in terms of imperialism. I suppose what we see with Donald Trump, though, is the mask is off. It's not like he's pretending. He's being very clear exactly what he intends to do. And Greenland has to be for Greenlanders. It's not for someone to buy or sell it. And to put these tariffs on us as a way of having a tantrum is something completely unacceptable. Then we have Trident, a nuclear weapon that has not been successfully tested for the last 10 years, that we're spending incredible amounts of money on. And Keir Starmer, in his press conference today, admitted we cannot use without a relationship with Donald Trump. I don't think we should be putting our national security in the hands of whether Donald Trump is in a good mood or not. It's really time for Keir Starmer to take his head out of the sand and see how dangerous this moment is.
So if you were in number 10 tonight or over the coming weeks and you were Prime Minister and Donald Trump, we don't know what he's going to do, but let's say he annexes or he potentially even invades Greenland, what would you actually do? What do you think the UK should do that would make a difference?
Well, I think there's what we need to do in the short term and the long term. So in the short term, we need to review US bases that are on UK soil. It is absolutely unacceptable for the United States to be making threats on another NATO country. We know Article 5 says an attack on one is an attack on all. But more widely, we need a genuine strategic defence review. This government did one last year, but actually one of the biggest threats facing our national security, as decided by the government's own intelligence chiefs, is the climate crisis. In their review, climate was mentioned twice or even 3 times, but not any more than that. We need to be thinking about wildfires, floods, civil unrest, and also about cyber security. It feels far too often the conversation is around Trident, as I've said, a nuclear weapon that cannot be a deterrent because it doesn't even work, and we rely on the United States to make it work, rather than actually facing the real threats that are facing us.
You would scrap Trident immediately, would you?
Well, I think it's very clear that it's not a deterrent when the tests have not worked in the last 10 years, and we require the United States to be able to even use it. And Keir Starmer said that himself this morning. I think people will be absolutely outraged about the idea that our national security,
I'm not entirely
with regards
sure
to Trident, is reliant on Donald Trump.
The United States has kept us pretty safe since the Second World War, so that relationship, yes, gets tested, but it has. Trident is part of our independent nuclear deterrent. But you're right, it does rely on the States. I'm not entirely sure what the solution from the Green Party is. Unless you're going to ramp up military spending a hell of a lot, relying on allies that we've been really engaged with for decades is going to cost a lot of money and it's going to take a lot of time.
Well, let's talk about ramping up military spending. At the moment, right now, if you did that, as I've said, 86% of UK military imports come from the United States. Keir Starmer should be looking at this and saying they're not a reliable ally. Why are we giving them all of this money, which we also know is inextricably linked with oil and gas? This is the same president that went into Venezuela, abducted a president, and said the reason why he did it was because of oil and gas. So what would the Green Party do? As I've said, we'd look to rely a lot less on the United States and rebuild our relationships with our European neighbours. As well as that, we need to think about real security. Real security involves investing in peace and diplomacy, working with other countries to make sure that we're looking at a world that is moving less towards fighting and arms racing and more towards making sure we're actually having diplomacy. Is that easy and simple? Absolutely not. No one should pretend it is. But there's nothing worse than just saying, actually, we're going to keep investing in nuclear weapons, because then we will result in a nuclear apocalypse, and no sane person could ever actually want that.